Yeah. I can't believe, like, when I first started editing the episodes, like, now I think I've said before, like, I'll just skim through those chunks and, like, look for the spikes in audio, like, we must have laughed there, or just been getting more animated there, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it's been so much easier to just... I used to actually just listen to all the cutting room stuff until I found 2 clips.
I thought that's what you were still doing. That's a lot of work, man.
Yeah, no, I just kind of skim through.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There'd be no way. We record way too much bullshit.
Yes.
Hey everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. This is episode number 46, and my name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with Randall Kevin.
Hey everybody.
DJ Mandolini.
Yo.
And John Hines.
Hello.
And we're back again for some more video games, believe it or not.
We love video games.
And I guess we can just jump right into it. We never do any kind of intro or anything, so DJ and I have been playing a little Mark of the Ninja remastered lately on our Nintendo Switches, and I will say I played a little bit of this. I had it on my Xbox 360. I never really used that system all that much for whatever reason. I bought it at some point, I guess, but... I'd never played very far, but I remember having a pretty good time with the game.
Oh, I thought you beat it.
And no, I didn't get very far. I'm probably further now than I was. Maybe not quite, but I've played through about 3 or 4 levels. I think DJ's played through the whole game.
Yes, sir.
Or at least the vast majority of it. I think there is like a new game plus and stuff like that.
It's the same thing.
But I don't know about you, DJ, but man, like I'm almost feeling like my memories are not even as strong as they should have been, because I just love this game. I have a few gripes with like some of the button layouts where, like, you know, when you're going into a vent and sneaking around, I guess just to kind of set the stage, it's just like a stealth side-scrolling action platformer game with a heavy emphasis on the stealth, I would say. Like you're not doing a ton of, like, the platforming is kind of slow. Like it almost plays even a little bit like, not quite as deliberate, but like those older like Prince of Persia games, or those really heavily animated platformers, you know, like especially when you're not running, you know, you kind of do this like really deliberate walk that's like feels like it's really the animations I think are really fluid, great. Like it's really fluid and smooth. You know, Clay definitely, it's developed by Clay, and it definitely has a little bit of that art style like that Shank had, or that some of their earlier games had.
Oh, they made that.
So like,
okay. Yeah,
that was I think their first game was Shank.
It sounds right.
But Mark of the Ninja has like kind of a similar art style, but totally different gameplay. Like it is just stealth, and again, I have some gripes. Like the B button, for example, is like to jump and to mount the wall and to climb through vents, and like I just feel like they could have
the vent
should have been A or something, because you're never really interacting with an object when you're near a vent. So like that would have been more beneficial, I think, but that's a pretty small gripe. It wasn't anything that caused me any huge problems, and the game does allow you to kind of almost like save scum, in the sense of like, you know, you have like, well, yeah, you can like not save scum per se, but like you have like checkpoints, and like, okay, I triggered the guards, I can basically just restart the checkpoint to before I triggered the guards, and just keep redoing that to try to perfect the level, which I appreciate, even though you could probably make this game, or not probably, you could make this game way more difficult by just being like, okay, I'm going to get through the level by trying to complete all these challenges without, you know, setting off any alarms, or without killing any guards, or without, you know, doing whatever. Because I don't know, but I find the game just insanely compelling. Like every time I've only played through 3 or 4 levels, but I've replayed them all like 2 or 3 times.
Oh,
and
wow.
Like almost every room has like, you have a different path to take. Like there's an enemy here, it's like you have usually at least 2 different routes that you could kind of either climb through the vents, or go up a staircase, or go around a back way, or whatever. But there's sometimes even 3. Like there's just many branching paths. The levels are pretty sprawling. There's
are those
like hidden
pathways
stuff in each
obvious
level
to you? Because I know this is like a 2D scroller type of layout.
They're obvious-ish,
right?
you know, like the vents will kind of like flash like a little like kind of white highlight every once in a while, every few seconds, so you can kind of see them
too.
And you can look at the map, which is it's not super detailed, the map, but it gives you like enough of, like,
shows you how you can get from room to room at least.
And it shows you where all your objectives are. There's like a big red X on the map, so you can at least like not get lost. But again, you can kind of like make your own challenge. Like, hey, I want to go without killing anybody, or which I have not done. I've mostly tried to actually just kill every guard. You don't. That's a small gripe too. Like you don't really have a way to like knock people out. You're always you just have to kind of dispose of them. But it's just more fun to like, okay, can I clear this whole area and like dump these bodies and hide them and whatnot in these dumpsters. But I do think I'm having so much fun with this game that I truly anticipate going back and like, okay, now I'm going to try a no kill run. Like don't kill any guards and try not to trigger any bosses. And like, I'm in love with this game.
It's a shame that like I felt punished in a way by like doing the killing when I thought the killing part was like the most engaging part.
It seemed out of place. Like it seemed like you should be able to like tie them up or I don't know. It just seemed like you're sneaking up on these guys and they're, I don't know. It just feels like you should be able to subdue them as opposed to dispose of them. Yeah. Because you're like just brutally stabbing them in the back, like through the heart. Yeah. You know.
All right.
But it's a satisfying animation, you know. It's kind of cool. Like when you sneak up behind an enemy, like they'll kind of highlight. In this game, the way it portrays visual information, I think, is amazing. Like if you're able to attack an enemy, like if you're in range, they will immediately be highlighted in red. So then, like okay, I can hit the attack button, and then once you hit that, it kind of goes into slow-mo, and then you have to like hit the attack button again and like kind of do like a quick time event. It's usually just like hit the attack button with a certain direction on the joystick to like execute the attack. And if you don't do it correctly or in a proper amount of time, you'll do like a sloppy kill, which if you don't get as many points for, it's like kind of arcadey. You get a bunch of points and like for being undetected and slipping past guards, like you get high scores and stuff. So it's kind of cool for replayability in that regard.
That is cool.
But then, if you have like the sloppy kill when there's an enemy around, you not only do you get fewer points, you also you'll make a little bit of noise. Otherwise, the kills are totally silent. And then again, back to the visual language. Like if you're running. When you're walking, you make pretty much no sound. And if you're in the shadows, like your character is totally like black and kind of like outlined in white. And then when you're in the light, like you're clearly like you look totally different. So, and if you're in the shadows, it's just like it's just cut and dry in this game. It's not like, oh, maybe they can see me. It's like if you're in the shadow, they can't see you. If you're in unless they like have their flashlights out or something and you've like triggered an alarm or something.
The one thing that I couldn't nail down is like, it does show like the kind of the scope of vision, but
like they have like the guards will have like a flashlight cone in front of them basically.
But like let's say you're beyond that cone but you're in the light, they don't have a visual way of letting you know that you will be in their line of sight.
That's a good point. But for the most part, that I would say that's like a few and far between.
It is very clear with what you're able to do.
Because even when you're able to, you have an ability where you can essentially like go into ninja time and like stop time 100%. It's not even just slow mo. It's like it stops. And then you can select multiple targets if you have like throwing darts and like knock out the lights. And like if you aim and target a light, it'll show like a blue circle radius that's like, this is the sound it's going to make. If there's an enemy within that radius or within that circle, they will hear that sound. If
that's
not,
a
you're
really
good.
Cool idea.
And everything is like that. When you grapple, when you run, there's like these huge circles because you're running through the vents, you're making kind of a bunch of noise. But when you're just tiptoeing, you're not making any noise. And like, again, you can get up right behind enemies as long as you're in the shadows. And I don't know. I just find the game so satisfying. I feel like I've definitely been carrying this conversation a little though, DJ, and you seem like you're maybe slightly softer on this game than I am. It seems like we both enjoyed it, but
I don't think that it necessarily carries that enjoyment throughout the end. I feel like it kind of plateaus a bit.
Okay.
Because like by the end, like I did intend to, like you said, like go back and do previous levels without killing, so I can get like that bonus or whatever. But after I beat the game, I like did that for like one level, and then I was just like, I'm good. Like I don't know. It felt like there wasn't enough. There's something with the pacing I felt that was kind of off, I guess. Like I feel like it maybe should have gotten
like specifically with the no kills or like just in general the double design.
Yeah, I guess
I sort of know what you mean. Like you'd come across areas where you're like, I feel like I should maybe explore here, because there would be like occasionally a hidden artifact or a hidden like puzzle room, which is, I guess those are kind of a little bit of a gripe for me too. Those puzzle rooms where some of them were kind of that I've come across have been a little bit annoying or like
puzzle
unclear.
Room, the thing that teleports.
Yeah, you go into like kind of like
I think that's the best part.
Really? Okay, because like I hit a couple. Like there was one for example that there were like 3 doors I had to open, but for whatever reason, like the way they designed this level, it looked like there were 4 doors. Like the one like just wouldn't open, but it was just some like weird beam in the foreground that was not a door. And I was like sitting here trying to do this puzzle. I was like, what else can I do in this room? And you can't get out. I don't think there's a way to like leave those rooms until you solve the puzzle. Okay, I didn't realize that. Yeah. I guess just because I'm usually fixated on I got to figure this out.
That's fair. I'm here to fact check.
But that kind of frustrated me a little bit when I was like, oh, that's not a door. Like, why would they make that look so similar? But either way, I just found them either way. I'd back to the exploration or the pacing. You know, it just felt like I don't know when I should be scouring these levels or when it's just like, hey, this is just one of the branching paths that leads me to the next room.
That's fair.
And I don't really need to explore it. But again, that kind of every time I've replayed each level, it's not felt the same to me in any capacity. And I'm not playing them differently. Like I'm not going for a no kill. I'm just more trying to get like the different challenges. Each level kind of gives you, you know, I think 3, sometimes even 4 different challenges that are like, you know, break 20 lights in a level or, you know, kill 5 guards and hide their bodies or frighten them by, you know, startling them by killing another enemy with a chandelier or something. Kind of like specific challenges. So like it has that arcadey feel to it that I really like. And it also just checks off that OCD list of like, again, if I'm going for like, I don't want to trigger a single alarm. I just want to perfect this level.
Right.
I don't know. It's getting those juices flowing for me.
Yeah. I didn't feel like the difficulty ratcheted up in a way that I wanted. Like it felt like in later levels, they just had like more traps thrown around, but I don't know. For some reason, like I felt those puzzle rooms to be satisfying.
Okay.
Because I felt like those were maybe a cut above what was in the rest of the level. I don't know. Like
they're a pretty big shift, I would say, in like the type of gameplay, you know, just like you're like pulling a bunch of switches and trying to like divert laser beams and stuff like that to like where you're not doing so much of that in the main game. Like you're shutting down security systems, but it's more in like a finesse kind of way as opposed to brain teasers, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I just I don't know.
I mean, I'm glad you liked those parts of the games because like that part of the game, because I definitely was like, oh, this kind of sucks me out of it. And like it feels out of place a little, but obviously it didn't for you. So
no, I mean, I guess the fact that like it is so easy to just like, you know, go back just a little bit if you know, die or like you got seen and you just want to like, you know, undo that. It made things seem very inconsequential, I guess.
That's fair.
But at the same time, I would have been really ticked if I'd been trying to go for this one objective, and if I didn't make it, I'd have to go so far back. Like, yeah, I don't know where the balance is.
Yeah,
with that.
it's. I know what you mean. It's like maybe a little too forgiving in some regards. Like you would have to kind of enforce like restrictions upon yourself. Like I said, like I'm going to try to get through this level without restarting any checkpoints or without triggering any alarms or without killing any guards. However you want to restrict yourself, which I think is cool that you have those options, but you have to be the type of person.
Checkpoints.
Yeah, very generous. Yeah. Like almost every time you clear an area where there would be a guard or do anything almost, I mean, it's auto-saving.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah. It is nice. I mean, I use that. Like as soon as a guard spots me, I'm basically like, pause, restart checkpoint. Right. I just want to get back to like the I don't know, the basic state, like the normal state where nothing's triggered.
Yep.
And like get through the level as if I never, you know, nobody saw me.
I was going to ask, like, DJ, did you like take advantage of that? Like if you ever got spotted? Okay. So
if I ever got spotted, I just like stood still and let them kill me.
Yeah.
That's what I would do in Metal Gear Solid. So like I appreciate that this lets me just skip that process. And although it's very quick, you get killed pretty quick. You don't have much health. It's all about like, you know, sneaking around. You're not typically meant to take much damage, but you can like, you can knock a guard around, throw a few punches and like maybe sneak into a vent and sneak away. But it just doesn't feel satisfying to me. It's like I want to slip by undetected. And I do think I would get a lot of satisfaction out of like playing through a whole level undetected, not saving it, and just like, okay, I fucked up. I'm going to start the whole level over.
Oh God!
I don't think you have that discipline, Kevin.
I think for this game I could. I mean, I truly think this game is. I'm not going to use this word lightly. I don't think I've ever said this word on the podcast, but I think this game is a masterpiece. I think it's one of the best video games I've played in a really long time. The design is just damn near perfect. I think it's amazing.
I'd say it's solid, but I don't know. I don't feel the amount of highs I'd like to feel for me to consider something a masterpiece.
Like the stuff, a lot of the stuff you're saying is like I'm hearing you, because like I agree that like the difficulty ramp up is like it could be more significant, I guess, or like they could throw more at you, and I'm only a handful of levels in, and I'm maybe I haven't seen enough.
And the kills are really cool. Like I get a similar feeling, I guess, to kind of a similar feeling to like stealth kills in Assassin's Creed, honestly.
Okay, I haven't really played many of those games.
It's just there's something like I want them to be like a little more satisfying, I guess, in some regard. I can't explain.
I just feel like the balance between like action and stealth and puzzle solving and strategizing and reacting to what's happening, because it is like very systems based as well.
Right.
I just think all of that combination for me just comes together to it just gets my senses going. I really love this game.
It's a game for Kevin.
Yeah.
It's a game for Kevin.
Game for me. They remastered it just for me.
There you go.
So
yeah, let's
speaking of that, okay, so I hadn't played the original actually, so before we recorded, I was looking up a YouTube video of like what it looked like, back then. It looks the same to me. I don't know. I don't see any
sort of
difference.
agree with that, but do you think it doesn't look good?
No.
Okay,
I do think it looks good. It just doesn't look like a remaster to me.
I think the problem is that it just already looked pretty good to begin with for an Xbox 360 era arcade game.
They probably developed it for 720p or something back in that point, and now it's 1080p plus. Yeah,
it's definitely not some huge step up, but I think they maybe have added in like I know there was like a secondary like character that has like an extra mission.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was going to be a whole second campaign, but it looked like it was just like one longish mission or longer mission. But still cool that that's in there. And again, there is some kind of new game plus that we haven't quite figured out. There are a bunch of different like items and costumes that you can unlock, and like actually I haven't unlocked any of the costumes or anything, but I think they give you different perks and stuff and whatnot. So I'm gonna keep playing this game and probably end up talking about it more eventually on the podcast, because I'm hooked. I'm obsessed.
That's awesome.
Even
fair enough.
Yeah, but little disappointed you didn't love it as much as me, DJ. But
you haven't beaten it. It's such a masterpiece.
That's fair. I just gotta savor every bite. But Randall, it's been a little while since we've talked a little JRPG action with you, and I know you've been
time for you to disappoint me.
Speaking of a game that I haven't beaten, I've sad news to report more in regards to Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I've pulled it out of my Switch. I had the cartridge physically, and I popped it out of that little Switch slot, unfortunately, and put it back.
That's the death. That's a kiss of death.
Yep. Back in the case, back up on the shelf, unfortunately, so that I could put the old standby Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age
Definitive Edition
system. Definitive
Remastered.
Edition. But no, it's just Xenoblade. There's a lot I like about Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but man, like the cutscenes, they wear me down, man.
How much more have you played since we talked about it last on the podcast? Because I haven't played since, and I got nowhere near as far as you had.
So before I was probably like 15, 20 hours in. I made it to, I think, about 35 hours in.
Okay.
I played a lot of this game, and this could also be a me thing, because I'm also, and I've talked about this before with like Breath of the Wild and other kind of open world-ish games. I'm somebody that goes after those side quests like crazy. I have to. And that can throw off the pacing a little bit if you're not careful. And I think that might also be a problem there for me.
Yeah.
So, but
I don't deny that there is a glut of content in the Xenoblade series.
Yes.
That you will never have a shortage of
Definitely
things to
not.
do, and like it never really like places any like degree of importance on it,
Right.
where you're like, okay, should I be spending time on side quests or should I just be plowing through? Like,
Right.
there's never really any like stakes established that you need to be particularly like investing your time in anything,
which is
in those
cool.
games.
I don't mind that.
But yeah, like, so what, if you don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
what was like the last area you got to?
Oh
I thought you were
God.
gonna say, what was the last cutscene you saw?
Yeah. Oh, they all
Because
blend
like,
together.
I think I mentioned this on like the last podcast that we discussed the Xenoblade Chronicles like games on, that I've gotten to the point where I've just skip every cutscene.
I
Like, I'll
probably
make it-
should have.
And I think that has significantly improved my.
But this is a
experience with the game.
JRPG. It's supposed to be a story-based story.
I liked the cutscenes. Again, I have not put nowhere near as much
That's
time.
because you
so I
haven't
could-
had
yeah.
4 in a row.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see it wearing thin for sure. Grumps.
It's Grumps. But yeah, where did you leave off?
Oh, what's the bigger area? Is it like it starts with a G? It's like Gorogoa. It's like some sort.
Gormat province?
I think so. It's so I was fast traveling a lot between like that area and then kind of another bigger area, just based on like side quests, and then also trying to do some of the main quest stuff along the way. And part of the problem I ran into too is the next thing it wanted me to do for a main quest, I like couldn't figure out how to get my characters there, like, and I kept like fast traveling to different parts looking for like, okay, if I go to this little sub area of Gormat, like, is that how I kind of follow this path and go over there? And it's kind of hard to tell because it's not just follow this direction, it's an elevation thing, right? It's like,
Yeah, it is a like the like it gives you a little distance marker where
Yeah.
so like it's a 2-dimensional whatchamacallit,
Like the distance is just like a straight line essentially.
Yes.
But you can kind of tell,
Right.
okay,
but it is a sphere. Like it is
Right.
based on like, so you could be literally like above the place, but it could say that you are like 50 meters away.
right.
And it's
okay.
because it's directly beneath you.
oh, and that happens
Right.
all the
And
time.
that's- It's very frustrating in that respect.
That's a bummer because like the little bit of the intro, or like I played about 5 hours of Xenoblade, and like I loved that compass feature. Like, oh man, this is like, and like being able to just
It's
hit
very
like
useful
ZR
when you
or
have
ZL.
one plane. that
Yeah,
you're
I
traveling
was like,
on.
man, this is awesome. Like, I always know where to go. I can pull up my objective at the click of a button to see, like, at least what the main objective is, or at least what my set objective is. So that's a little bit of a bummer that gets convoluted later on in the game.
Yeah,
Right.
No, I actually encountered that exact same problem in a much later area in the game, and I literally could not figure out where I was supposed to go until I realized that it was directly above me.
Oh
And I was
no.
just like, oh, I'm not on this correct track because I need to be going on a separate path
Right.
to get to the upper level.
Right.
Even though I'm like I move one step forward and then suddenly the icon appears behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
So,
there's
yeah.
a lot of that just slowed my momentum down, and I'm still like enjoying it. I'm still, finding new blades and talking to new characters, and like when a big event would happen, a lot of times it was satisfying and it would keep me propelled like to move forward. But man, like I watched the cutscenes, and man, you'd think like, okay, they're making their point, and now they're reiterating that point, and now they're reiterating on a different point, and now we're like Grandpa Simpson off in like some other direction about something else that someone mentioned, and then maybe we'll get back to the point, or maybe we won't, and it's like 5 to 7 minutes of this chitter chat, and all the while like there's background music that doesn't seem like it's like synced up at all with the cutscene that's happening. And it's just, it's really strange, right? Like, and this was the Xenoblade that they're like, nope, this is the story focused one. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch this story. And it just wasn't happening for me.
It is a really weird series for it to be like between like the original X and 2. I don't see any connective tissue between them.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're all so different games.
Like, not even gameplay wise, or
the
anything,
combat,
or?
I would say is similar between Xenoblade, the original, and 2, in my experience. Some of it.
I would say that, like, 1 is closest to X.
Oh, really?
And that, like, 2 is kind of the outlier in that.
Okay.
Like, they're still, like, they're so different in terms of, like, tone of the story, in terms of, this one is way more fantasy driven than, like, 1, which was way more sci-fi driven, and then, like,
Sure.
2 was just sci-fi, but, like, in a completely different direction. Like,
Yeah.
it covers a lot of ground, and, like, I don't know if it's just because they're, like, made by completely different teams, or they just wanted to go in completely different directions. But
Right.
yeah, like, I wouldn't necessarily recommend 1 if you liked the
Well, that's the thing. Like, I played through a lot of the original Xenoblade Chronicles on Wii, and I had a great time. Like, I stopped that for no good reason, and I'm gonna buy the definitive edition. I have it pre-ordered. Like, I have
Is
really
that coming out? They announced that?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
On Switch.
See that.
Yep.
Nice.
Is it like a full remaster too, or is it like just a port?
I know. I think they are planning to remaster it. That was my impression. Yeah.
Because I know that they were like, they kind of did it along with like a Smash reveal, because it's like, oh, you've played as Shulk in Smash now.
Remember
now
that
you
guy?
can finally play the game that he's from.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I had great experiences with that, and I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I had to tap out on Xenoblade and put that Dragon Quest XI's cart back in so I could kind of keep pushing through there. And maybe I just like the traditional RPG elements and the safe coziness of Dragon Quest a little bit better too. I don't know.
I can't blame you.
Yeah, how far are you along in Dragon Quest? Like, how much more time have you put into that since? So it's been a while since we've talked about that on the podcast. Probably even longer than Xeno.
Yeah, it has been. I'd probably only put like a few more hours into that. I think I might be somewhere around like the 40-ish hour mark on Dragon Quest. So like not even halfway through.
Yeah, for sure.
But I really like that game, and the cutscenes are very effective in that game.
Yes,
as far as I'm concerned.
No, I definitely agree that I think that Dragon Quest like has a much better story than Xenoblade does.
Yes, definitely. So I will continue on with that. That'll be my JRPG of choice for now.
Nice. So it is scratching that itch that unfortunately Xenoblade 2 was not.
Yes, unfortunately, and I'm super bummed too because I bought that that Torna cartridge.
Oh yeah, the like DLC, which is basically an entire
full game. I think it's like a $40 game.
Yeah.
It
so
looks
maybe I'll
pretty
check
cool.
that out anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, skip right
I already
ahead of
have
that.
it, so
yeah, it's probably not related to any of the other stuff. So why not give it a try?
There you go.
But yeah, I think we can move on to there. And John's been going a little throwback action lately. What have you been playing or speed running, I should say, or at least exploiting?
I've been revisiting an old friend, which a game that I have replayed more times than I can count, honestly. Like since
all the way through.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
okay.
I used to basically play it like either every year or every other year.
Dang.
Like just through was Metroid Prime. The Metroid Prime, specifically 1 and 2, are like they constantly compete for my favorite game of all time.
And that's kind of controversial because a lot of other people don't like 2 that much.
Oh
yeah, I thought I recall that as well. That 2 was not. I just remember it had a really cool shiny cover.
Oh yeah,
it does. It does have that hologram.
That foil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But each of them have like different things that I like. Like as I'm playing 1, all I can think about are all the things that I love about in 2. And as I'm playing 2, all I can think about are things I love in 1.
Yeah.
But like,
what about 3? What are your thoughts on 3? Just not quite up to that standard?
3 is good. It's a good game, but like I honestly think that, you know, being on the Wii and having those controls like took a lot away from what I really liked about the game. And I still like it. I think it's a good game, but like it also just is a little bit clunkier. And that's like kind of an issue that Metroid has had with like each new game. Like I am not a fan of Other M at all.
Most people aren't.
Well, and even you mentioned going back to Prime is like Metroid Prime is like a first person shooter that you do not use the right joystick to aim. Like you just have to reposition yourself all the time. So like, but how was that going back to that? I mean, obviously a little adjustment, but
because like for the longest time, Metroid Prime was the only first-person shooter I had ever played, basically.
Oh wow!
Other than like GoldenEye, maybe.
Yeah.
Like which was also prior to twin stick shooting. So like I was very used to kind of like that strafing way, but like
almost tank controls in a way.
Yeah.
Not really, but
the way that I the reason why I loved Metroid Prime as a series and still do is that like it's a very mobile game. Like you're constantly like the way that you move around in a 3D space is you're typically locking onto an enemy and jumping a lot.
Yeah.
So like when I made the like transition over to like Doom 2016, like that was also a very mobile game, but it was a twin stick shooter. Like I was still really into that type of like first person shooter because it was, you know, highly mobile. You're jumping around a lot and you're dodging attacks just by like nature of like your mobility or just moving out of the way of attacks.
Right.
And like that's a thing that's very core to Metroid Prime. And it did honestly take a couple minutes, but like it's a game that I've replayed so many times that it was basically just going through the first area before I was locked in again. And I was like, yep, this is my favorite thing to do.
And you were trying to do like some of the like speed running exploits and stuff, or some of the sequence breaking and stuff.
Yeah, in the past I've been able to do the like there's a way that you can get double jump as the first power up in the game, which like opens up the game like completely, like because it's like meant to be like basically the halfway point in Prime is you get double jump. So like if you get it first, like, and I've done this exactly once because I have the player's choice version, which is the harder version to execute it because they changed a couple things in how it controls.
Is it because of having seen some of the breaking? Because I know they've done that in the past, not Nintendo per se, but like, oh, we found out there's this exploit and we remade the game, and some people will embrace that and make it even more exploitable or something, and some people have been like, okay, that wasn't supposed to be there.
I think it's just an arbitrary change that they made because it's also, I think, like the PAL version like has the same thing, but like it wasn't in response to anything. But I tried to do that this time, and after I wasn't able to get that muscle memory down after a couple of years, I was like, all right, I'll just move forward and I'll do the Magmore Cavern skip instead, where you can just, instead of like waiting to get the Varia suit, which like allows you to go through like extreme temperature zones, like you can, if you just power through one area like and like go super quick, ignoring the constant damage that you're getting, like they don't act. Typically in most games, like you can't enter either like extremely hot or extremely cold areas, but if you just pass through the extremely hot area, like they didn't program it into the extremely cold area, so like you're just fine if you manage to make your way through.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's such a God, I love the game so much. Like,
so have you never played the trilogy version of 1 and 2 then that have the motion controls?
I have not.
Wow.
And I'm very I'm not interested because I've played them so many times in the original way. Like I feel like it would. I don't know. I would be interested to see if they do like, you know, port the trilogy over to like the Switch to see like how they would do that, because like the reason why you can't do twin stick controls is because the C stick on the GameCube, which is what like the second analog stick would be, is what you use to choose your beams in the game. Whereas like the D-pad is what you use to choose your visors. So like you're constantly switching.
It uses the D-pad.
Yeah, it does use the D-pad. As like, and it's the same way that like you use it in Breath of the Wild.
In most games these days, where it's like you switch your weapons, just hit like left to equip, or even in Mark of the Ninja, you hit like up to equip your darts and left to equip your smoke bombs or whatever. I'm assuming it works more like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And the D-pad like is just like you're selecting visors, and then like Metroid Prime 1, it's you're You have the regular visor, you have the scan visor, which I know people hated, but I love.
See, here's the thing. I need to go back to this game because I played probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours way back when. Not when it came out. I got it way later on. But I enjoyed it to some degree. I kind of got stuck, but this was in the era where I was definitely in the mode of like 100%. If I'm playing a game, I'm trying to 100% it. I'm trying to scan. And like for a game like this, if you have that kind of mentality, like, oh, I'm going to scan everything in this game. Like you can scan everything, every enemy, every object, every this. And like for me, like,
especially for a game that in Metroid, which has like such mystery baked into it, like going through and getting the Chozo lore and like the pirate like logs, where like it is just like such like completely different world building, where like you're crash landing on this like planet that has like you have the ancient lore of the like indigenous people, and like that has a completely different tone in like the like passages that you're reading that then like the space pirates who are there that are just trying to mine it for resources, and like the like difference in tone between those two like paints such a good picture. And then that carries forward into the in Metroid Prime 2, where you have like kind of it's the like same old thing that Nintendo does with every series, where there's a light in a dark world. And like, but you get to like choose the different, or you get to scan the different passages from like the Ing and the Luminoth, and like you see like the different histories that they have and like their different perspectives. And I think it's such an effective way, and it's completely optional. You don't need to do it.
And that's the thing that's the thing. Like I could avoid that because like you're talking, everything you just said is totally uninteresting to me. I like the. I don't get sucked in. Very rarely I get sucked into lore and stuff. You know, like when I was playing Super Metroid and having not been a huge fan of that in the past when I've played it, but like playing it now on the Switch, like the mood and the tone, like. I love how there's just no dialogue really other than like the start of the game, and like it's just like music and isolation and vibe, and like because I was just so much like I have to scan everything. It wasn't even I was like I'm scanning because I want to learn. I was just like I'm me and I need to scan. I know you can scan in this game and I have to scan everything.
I did the same thing.
I just like, I think that broke it for me because like it slowed my progress to almost a halt, where like I think if I was just kind of, oh, that looks intriguing, like let me scan that and not be so much like I have to scan. I mean, did you go that route? Like did you scan everything in the game, or is that
you know he did?
Of course he did.
Yeah, of course it's me. But like it really. So another thing that I did was I've just been listening to the soundtrack as well, and like I sincerely think that like the Metroid Prime, like especially 1 and 2, those soundtracks are like perfect at like capturing the mood of Metroid. Like I think that like the original soundtrack, like Hip Tanaka was like absolutely incredible at like creating a very specific, eerie, uncomfortable mood.
Oh yeah.
And then like Kenji Yamamoto like worked on Super Nintendo and like the Prime series, and like listening to that, like I can pick out the exact moments of every single game, like and they are such like the like sequence of each song is so good at creating a mood and like creating like a very like specific atmosphere, and like it's
yeah, you're right. Like one of the first things I think of when I think moody soundtrack is Metroid. Like those Metroid games, for real, they just nail it.
Yeah. They have a very like foreboding, ominous vibe without being too. I don't know. They're just really cool.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
catchy, you know.
Yeah. Specifically because Yamamoto worked on both like Super Metroid and the Prime series, is that like there are a lot of callbacks. Like Magmore Caverns has the exact same theme as, I forget what the like fire area is. It might be Norfair in Super Metroid. And, like so, hearing those like and like, but it doesn't come out immediately. Like the first time that you enter the area, it's playing in like halftime.
Okay.
So like you can't, like, it sounds familiar, but it's not there. And then the second that you get to the main area, it picks up in double time and you hear the melody, and
That's
it's
awesome.
There's a reason why it's my favorite game, and
you got me thinking about. I've got that trilogy on my Wii, which I still have a Wii U hooked up, I think, so I could play it theoretically.
Same.
Because that's funny too. Because I'm not a big first person shooter guy. Again, I've mentioned that on the podcast a handful of times. But like when the Wii started like releasing games as shooters, I was like, hey, this is actually kind of compelling to me. Like I've always been kind of shitty at just even controlling. When I play Halo with my brother or whatever,
right.
I just always sucked more than anyone else I played with. So I was like, hey, if I can just have a 1-to-1, like I'm just pointing a digital pointer at the screen, like maybe that'll be better for me. So I was like super pumped to play these Metroid games. I never really actually played much other than a little bit of 3, but I'm curious to check them out again.
Yeah. And the thing that like with the lock-on system in Prime was that like, if you wanted to like freely aim at something, you kind of had to lock yourself in place and be stationary. And
right.
Yeah. So like there was like kind of a like, it wasn't as fluid as like first person shooters, but I kind of like that that may just be because like this is one of my favorite games and I'm used to it.
But it did have a different pace. It had a different pace than like if you're playing Call of Duty or Halo or whatever. It's like it doesn't feel like those games. It does put the emphasis on and on exploration and stuff. There's a little more emphasis on that. So, I think we can move on from there, though. Yeah. If you're good to wrap up the Metroid talk there, John.
Talk anytime about Metroid Prime.
Well, I think without whether we like it or not, I think Metroid will probably just be an ongoing thing on our. I actually just couldn't find the words. I didn't mean that in a bad way because it's a series that I need to
happen. So
what's that?
Prime 4 is a thing that's going to happen. So there will be more Metroid.
And it's a series that I need to dive a little deeper into because like I said, booting back up Super Metroid, I was pretty into it. I didn't play all the way through it or anything, but I was like, man, I kind of get it. Where before when I've played it in the past, I felt like I was missing something.
This was the main reason why I joined this podcast was to talk about Metroid Prime. So
there you go, mission accomplished.
Yep, I can leave.
But other than that, Randall and I have been bouncing around on a few of the online stuff that's available, the retro online stuff that's available on the Nintendo Switch.
As always,
Randall's been leaning into the NES stuff. What have you been sticking with the sports for that matter? What have you been playing lately, Randall?
I have been on a sports kick, and I guess it's just because I've been on a like pick up and play. I don't have life's been very busy and a bit stressful lately, so it's like definitely been leaning into the pick up and play. Don't have to invest a lot. Kind of already have the muscle memory down type of games that I don't have to commit a lot of myself to. So Tecmo Bowl on the NES online through Switch definitely fits that bill. It's definitely a very simple game. I'll say right at the start, if you actually have an NES or access to those games, Tecmo Super Bowl, the sequel, is a much better game in every regard. The best comparison I can make is Tecmo Bowl is Super Mario Brothers and Tecmo Super Bowl is Super Mario Brothers 3. Like that's kind of
okay.
I mean that's night and day. That's like you're talking a good game and a
and a better game.
Essentially,
just to be clear, the good game is Mario 3. Just to be clear, from where I'm coming from.
Of course, Mario 3 is a classic. And whereas in Super Mario Brothers, a la Tecmo Bowl, they've kind of those first systems. Like the game is there, right? They crafted what they wanted to craft for this experience, but it's still rough around the edges in a lot of ways. And I guess that's what I would say about Tecmo Bowl. But the reason that Tecmo Bowl is there and not Tecmo Super Bowl is because in Tecmo Super Bowl, you had access to full NFL rights and the NFLPA. So you'd have to go out and do new licensing deals in order to get that re-released. And Nintendo's not going to spend that extra dough, and neither is Tecmo. So you get Tecmo Bowl on these platforms instead.
So what are the teams? Do you have access to NFL teams, or are they just random?
Is it more like Madden 64? Because I remember the first Madden game on Nintendo 64 was they also did not. They had the NFL, or they had the NFLPA rights, so they had all the players, but they did not have the teams. So it would be like
funny.
Like the Patriots were the Foxborough something. Funny. Like they were actually all like in the city that the stadiums were in, and they had the colors of the teams right and everything. But then Madden 99 the next year, like, okay, Madden 64 still did pretty well, and they were like, okay, we'll take some of that Madden money.
Yeah,
and then later they sold their soul to the devil named John Madden, and just like, hey, which now I think NFL 2K is coming back, but Madden I think has had for over a decade they have been the only. EA has been the only company allowed to make an NFL licensed game. So
rest in peace, NFL 2K5.
Yeah, and it all started with Tecmo Super Bowl.
Yes. So like so with Tecmo Bowl, you kind of have real teams. They did like a college thing, right? Where if you've ever played any college like football or basketball game, they kind of sort of graft on the likeness of major college players onto this, but they're kind of, it's not quite the same, but you can kind of tell, like in this game, say like in Tecmo Bowl, the San Francisco team is very good because in 1989, the 49ers were killing it, right?
So Joe Montana, Jerry Rice. It's like they're not in the game, but they might as well be.
Yeah, and on top of that, they didn't have the NFL license, so it's just San Francisco. They're not the San Francisco 49ers, gotcha. So you don't get any of that like real team name stuff. And there's only 12 teams instead of the many, many more teams that are actually in the NFL. But one of those teams is Seattle, so I played as Seattle. The colors are all wrong and everything else, and they're not that good. But that's kind of okay too, because Tecmo Bowl is kind of a easy game, if I'm being honest. Like once you get you get the game language down, you can win. Like,
once you get that zigzag rundown, I remember I played this game probably more Super Tecmo Bowl, because I remember for sure that my cousin had there were real players in the game.
Yeah.
And was it Bo Jackson? Oh, yeah. Bo Thomas? Yeah, Bo Jackson.
Yep.
You get the zigzag rundown, and you can't get tackled. He would just run up and down the field, back and forth, and like just to rub it in on me. And it was painful. I was never good at that game, but probably only because I was playing with a wizard.
Yes.
So
I am also a wizard, and I will beat you at any time.
I think we may have even played some Tecmo Bowl in the past, and I'm pretty sure you handed it to me.
The other problem with this game compared to Tecmo Super Bowl is you only have 4 plays to pick from. And if you kind of like it's almost like a battleship kind of thing going on, where like if the offense picks a play and I pick the corresponding defensive play, kind of knowing what you're going to pick, like the play's over. Like you're like complete sack. Like all of my players are going to run through the line and just like decimate your team.
Like kind of pure based on chance.
Yeah. So you have effectively 25% chance. And if you know who you're playing against, probably more than a 25% chance of knowing what that person's going to pick.
Right.
So versus Tecmo Super Bowl, there's 8 plays to choose from. So that kind of reduces that factor quite a bit. So yeah, I'm talking up a game that unfortunately you can't play unless you have an NES or an emulator.
So Tecmo Super Bowl is also on the original Nintendo, because it's just confusing. I'm thinking Super Tecmo Bowl. Is it Tecmo Super Bowl or Super Tecmo Bowl?
Tecmo Super Bowl.
Okay, because with the Super in front, it sounds like a Super Nintendo game.
Right.
But Tecmo Super Bowl makes a little more sense.
There were Tecmo Super Bowl games on the Super Nintendo as well, though. So
okay, even more confusing.
Yes,
Super Tecmo Super Bowl
2 Turbo. But anyways,
it's available on there. It's a fun little distraction, and that's what it is to me. And it's fine for that. And it has a regular season mode where you play through against all the teams, and occasionally you'll play against the San Francisco team, and it will be harder than most others, even though you kind of know what's going on. So it's kind of worth it for that as a little distraction.
Yeah. Well, I've been kind of playing on the Super Nintendo side of things. I've been kind of playing some Super Mario World, kind of in the same fashion, like as a distraction, but only because, like John mentioned with Metroid Prime, I mean, this game is just baked into my brain. I mean, I have it pretty much memorized. I know all the secrets. I know all the... It was a game kind of the same deal. I play it like almost once a year. Like whenever I have like a chunk of time off, it's Christmas time or it's whatever, I'm just playing through. It's a pretty breezy game for me at this point.
Yeah.
I can beat it in a day, day or two, sitting or two. One of the things I did recently, and I think I actually did stream some of these like a long time ago on our Twitch channel. I'd never fully finished it, but I was actually streaming and like trying to beat the game without triggering any of the switch palaces.
Yeah,
that give you all the safety platforms and stuff. Like I was gonna do them at the end because I got to get those 96 exits. I need the little star on the title screen to show me that I did everything.
Yes.
But and I need to see like the Halloween world after the fact, like after you beat the game and you get all 96 exits, or I don't know what it's called, but like some of the it's like some of the enemies wear like Mario masks or like pumpkin heads.
Is that the the tubular levels and stuff like that?
No, like after you beat the game, like so once you have all 96 exits, I think if you start that same file, or I forget how it works actually now.
Oh yes,
but like it like kind of changes. Like it looks more like you're in the fall.
Yep.
Like the leaves are kind of orange and not so green and stuff. But but anyways, this is just one of my favorite games. I'm loving the fact that for whatever reason, like playing on the Pro Controller, like I'm really able to fly a lot better than I was ever able to using the joystick as opposed to using a D-pad on the Super Nintendo controller. Like I'm flying through like entire levels.
Going left to right is a lot easier on a joystick
That's fair.
than it is on a D-pad.
Yeah, I gotta say, I love playing 2D games with a joystick. I was always a religious D-pad guy.
Yeah.
And playing with the Pro Controller, like I can finesse. I don't know. I just like it. There's a few games that I still prefer a D-pad for.
Yeah.
But man, I for most of these games, it feels especially I'm not huge on the D-pad on the Pro Controller.
No,
it's kind of like stiff and D-pad. Clunky and inaccurate. And obviously the D-pad in quotes on the Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
It's like, but for certain games, like if I'm playing Tetris or I'm playing a puzzle game, I love that like split D-pad with like independent buttons on the Joy-Cons. Like, so for certain things, I love it.
Yeah.
I really do find
controller, folks. The D-pad is good there.
I have that too. I still prefer the joystick on the Pro Controller for playing stuff like Mario World, which is, again, I can't believe I'm saying that because I was like D-pad for everything. I bought that 8-bit Do controller for the sole purpose of like I need a good D-pad on my Switch,
right?
And I don't have access to one. So, and I do like that controller. It is a good controller, no doubt about that. But yeah, I've just been having a blast. I do feel like some of these games, like if you like I said, this game is baked into my brain. So I feel like there is like a slight input delay, or like it takes me like a minute or two to kind of get used to playing it on the Switch. Like I feel like I'm used to it now, but like it did take me a couple levels where I'm like I would just like jump a little too late and just hit a Goomba and die, and it's like that just doesn't happen when I play Mario games,
I can perceive that too. There's a little bit
Yeah, it's really tiny, but if it's a game that you just have that muscle memory baked in, it is somewhat noticeable, I think.
Yeah.
Because even some of the stuff that's not available on the Switch Online services, like I've played some of those Mega Man Anniversary collections. Those have like a little bit too. Like it's like I've played the shit out of those NES Mega Man games, and like they just don't feel quite the same. If you're coming to them fresh, I don't think you would notice even the slightest hindrance in the controls. But I think if you've played these and grew up on them for 25, 30 years, you might notice a slight difference. But again, now that I'm about 2 worlds through, it's like I feel like I'm just playing Mario World. I don't feel any different. So
you showed me the ropes on that game, Kevin. Like that was your game. Like I didn't grow up with Super Mario World. In fact, I didn't play Super Mario World until it got released on Game Boy Advance.
Really?
That's the same as me, yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't play it until college.
I know I kind of pushed you to play it too, DJ, so go ahead, Randall, but I kind of want to hear everyone's take on Super Mario World, because again, this is, for me, hands down, my favorite Mario game. Just no question about it.
Yeah, I think my viewpoints kind of evolved over time, where I was kind of a diehard Mario 3 guy, because that's kind of what I grew up with, and didn't have a Super Nintendo, had a Genesis, so got access to it later through the Game Boy Advance. I thought it was sweet, but I was ignorant to all the super secret cool shit you could do by sacrificing Yoshi or whatever else. Kevin showed me all the exits, and I've got a copy of that cart because of you, because we played together with a 96 star on the file still. Never gonna delete that, which is awesome. But that was a really cool experience to play like an absolute masterpiece. Just like almost fresh, because I didn't play that much of the Game Boy Advance one compared to, some other games. So it was really cool.
And real quick, before I let John and DJ kind of chime in, like the music in this game is phenomenal. I know DJ, we've talked a little bit about this, and he's not as huge on it, but I love how like Koji Kondo incorporates that like main theme into almost every song in the game, but like they feel the Koji Kondo, totally different
intro thing where like every song kind of has
that
like
a 4-bar
intro,
and it just like it just ramps up the action. It just gets a and you're just like, okay, here we go, Mario. Every little jingle and again that just main theme, like when he slows it down into like a 3/4 waltz in the underwater levels and like speeds it up for the it's just amazing. And like the way the drums get added in when you're riding Yoshi, there's like an extra percussion track. Like the soundtrack in this game is one of my favorites, if not number one for me. But anyways, I'm just gushing. But DJ, where did you come from? I know I kind of like I said pushed you into playing this game.
No, I came from a pretty similar spot that Randall did. Didn't have a Super Nintendo growing up, so I was also very much a Mario 3 person. I still am very much a Mario 3
don't get me wrong,
person.
I love Mario 3 too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Yeah. No, you don't.
I need to save a game. I cannot.
Well, you can on the Switch, right?
There you go.
The save states. I agree.
No,
though. Like that.
It's like that's the main reason why I've never gotten into Mario 3 is because I've never been able to save a game, and
No, that is a very.
It's a pretty long game to not have saving capabilities.
Carve out the time to do it, though. It's so worth it.
I really like the first 2 worlds of Mario.
The times that I've beaten Mario 3 were definitely times that like me and my brother, or even I think you and I played it at some point, DJ, but like and Randall too, was definitely involved. Me leaving the system on overnight and like, okay, we'll play it more tomorrow, and like we just won't play anything else on the NES until then. And just leaving it running. So it is again, I know we've talked about this on the podcast too, but having those save state features on these NES games that are available and Super Nintendo games is game changer. So
don't get me wrong, it is a flawed game.
But I'd say that's like more of
the best
a
it could. With
that's more of like a
it had.
An issue of the era, not so much like the game itself.
Right.
But I guess it was college-ish that I eventually got around to Mario World. I think it's really hard for me just to get used to that Super Nintendo aesthetic. I was never really able to sink into it that much.
It's kind of like a flatter. I love the aesthetic of the game, of Super Mario World, but it is like a flatter, like I don't know, like Mario 3 looks more lively, and like there's just a few more like suits and like there's a little more variety or something. I kind of know what you mean.
Agreed.
Speaking of variety, I think it has a little more musical variety. But I mean, who's just if I grew up with the Super Nintendo, it's hard. Yeah. It's hard for me to know.
And same here. Yeah.
Did you ever have a handheld console?
I did.
Did you have a Game Boy Advance?
I did, but I didn't really have any games for it. So I couldn't. I couldn't and I didn't.
Because the Game Boy Advance was how I got really big into like that 16-bit aesthetic.
That makes sense.
That would have been.
That's fair. Yeah, they basically wanted it to be like a Super Nintendo handheld.
Oh yeah,
you know,
and it was incredible.
Yeah, seriously.
That's how I got my Breath of Fire too.
Nice.
One of the only games I had for the Game Boy Advance was it was a SpongeBob SquarePants.
Nice.
It was real bad.
Man, maybe that's why you never got into it.
I'm done. I don't know. I really love the music in Mario 3.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, Mario 3 is great. I'm certainly not trying to take anything away from that game.
But I do think where Mario World definitely excels is having variety with the boss battles, which Mario 3 offers no variety.
Interesting, because I just was noticing like the boss battles in most Mario games, frankly, but especially in Super Mario World, like they're just trash. You can beat them.
Different.
They're different, but you can beat them in like 5 seconds. Like they're like,
if you know,
like for example, so like the boss, there's one boss that like you're in this room I forget which Koopa kid it is, but like
Lemmy.
the walls keep closing in on you slower. I think it's a second or third boss in the game.
No, Roy.
There's two of them that are like this, I think, because I think each boss, there's like kind of two Koopa kids that have similar, and like the next one's just a little tougher, with like another element thrown into the mix. But like essentially the boss like runs at you, you're supposed to jump over them, then they run up the wall and then across the ceiling, and then when they're directly above you, then they drop down like a hammer, onto you. And like I was able to jump on this boss 3 times before he even made it to the wall to run around. Like, so it's like,
but that's like all the Mario 3 bosses, man.
Exactly. So I'm just saying with both games, I think like once you know what they are.
What about Renzo?
It is like Renzo's, or you mean Trent Reznor?
Yeah.
Trent Reznor. Yeah, I think that's like one of the tougher ones, but it's only, those are the same each time. And like, it's still not a super fun boss battle. Like it's only tough because like the floor is like disappearing beneath you as like, and like the platforms that you need to kind of bonk from beneath like just become further and further out of reach as the floor disappears. So like those are probably the toughest, like even tougher. Actually, no, I was going to say even tougher than Bowser, but the Bowser battle in Super Mario World is one of the cooler boss battles against Bowser, I would say, because even in the 3D Mario games, they're pretty forgettable, and they just, again, repeat with he's got one more extra attack or one more layer. I'm just really disappointed in a lot of the boss battles.
On the Mario 64 is the best.
No.
Bowser. Yeah. So long, Gay Bowser.
It's fun. It is fun to chuck him for sure.
It is. Super Mario Brothers Wii. Come on.
That was a great Bowser battle. Yes,
actually,
that is the best Bowser battle. That is really a great point. With like the giant, like you beat him once regular, and then the giant like chase. That is a sweet boss battle.
I played through New Super Mario Bros. Wii with like 2 friends, and
that's a great game.
Having one person still fighting while 2 of you are in bubbles is just great. While you're just screaming the whole time, artificially creating another difficulty, freaking the one person
screaming
out.
In real life. Yeah,
of course.
Absolutely.
But yeah, what about you, John? Where's your sir? Were you finished talking about Super Mario World, Mario 3 stuff? DJ, yeah. What are your thoughts on Super Mario World coming into the Game Boy Advance era?
I love Super Mario World a lot. I've played it a ton, and it is also a comfort game for me as well.
Yeah.
Like every time I play it, like I go through the like vanilla secret route so that I always go in the upper level and like never bother doing the like one of the Koopalings anytime. But like, I don't know. I love the fact that it has like, kind of save points in the like ghost houses
and
that
the
you can
castles.
play.
Like, there's certain levels, and the Switch palaces I think give you a checkpoint too. So
like that, like I honestly like just being able to like do a level and then like go back and like just saving and like coming back at any time. That was like my main barrier from getting into like the older, because I never had an NES. Like I first started playing video games like in the Super Nintendo era, and like being able to go back like and do anything at my own pace was a huge thing for me.
Yeah,
sure.
And I did love like the difference. I like the overworld in Mario 3, but something about it being like all interconnected in Mario World. Like I just felt like, again, as a kid, this was one of the first video games I ever played, and it just swept me up. Like I just felt like I was going on this grand adventure.
Yeah. And
not that Mario 3 didn't have that element to it, but I just really, even subsequent, like New Super Mario Brothers U that tried to incorporate that similar like overworld style. Like it was cool. It just didn't feel the same, and maybe it's just because I wasn't 7 years old when I played it for the first time.
It's not as intricate as Mario World.
Yeah, like all the secrets and all like the little details of like when it's a level that does have multiple exits, it's like a red dot on the map instead of a yellow one, so like, okay, I know there's a secret in this level. Like I'm missing something. Like that's something that I wish games like even my favorite game of all time, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, doesn't even telegraph, unfortunately. It doesn't let me know when there's a secret. So I just appreciate like there's no huge, it doesn't tell you where it is, how to find it. There's no hint. It's just like, you just know to scour this level a little more than the other ones.
What do you mean Tropical Freeze doesn't let you know when there's a...
I don't think they like on the world map, it's not like, hey, this level is red and you know there's a hidden exit. You know, there are a few levels. Like you can kind of see...
Are there hidden exits in
that game? And there's like...
It's been so long.
There's definitely some branching paths on like the overworld map that go to different places. Same with the new Super Mario Brothers games. And maybe I am confusing those. But like there definitely are, like you can sort of see, okay, it looks like there's an opening on the map here. It looks like there should be another level there. So you can kind of maybe like assume, but you don't know, what is it branching off this level? Is it branching off that level?
Exactly.
I don't know. Maybe sometimes there's just some random path that just magically builds itself, you know? So, but I just really appreciate that level of information in the Super Mario world, you know, just knowing what I'm looking for. But yeah, that sense of adventure is something that I don't feel from any other Mario game. I think the only other Mario game that ever gave me that feeling was Mario Galaxy.
That makes sense.
Well, I mean, it's also like, you know, the NES ones, you can't replay any levels too. So I'm sure like...
You can't on 3?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Once they're cleared, you're done.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So you have a finite amount of extra lives you can get, which is also a thing that, I don't know.
There's even a secret in Mario World.
Top secret area. Yeah. I always go there like before I start any castle.
Unlimited Yoshis, unlimited free lives.
Capes, get a Yoshi, and say goodbye to Yoshi at the beginning of the castle.
Yep.
Not bad.
But anyways, I could gush on about this game forever, but yeah, I love Super Mario World. I love the Mario franchise, and I'm sure Mario will come up more than a few times on this podcast as we move forward. But I think we can pretty much wrap it up there with a little bit of retro talk, and we'll be back next week as always with some more video game chat. You can find us online at pursuingpixels.com. We're on Twitter at Pursuing Pixels, Instagram at Pursuing Pixels. We've also been doing a little bit of streaming here and there on Twitch at also /Pursuing Pixels. We also will, upload that stuff to YouTube. I think you have to just search us at Pursuing Pixels. Eventually, we'll get that YouTube clout, that Google clout that we really need to be official in the world. But
that's right.
Until then, we'll talk to you next Monday, and take care.
Bye. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Also with John Boyce is he has a YouTube series called Pretty Good, where it's just him talking about sports stories that he thinks are pretty good.
Pretty good.
They're not like usually stellar players or anything. It's just like, hey, here's one. But he did a recent series. I forget what it was called, but it was like, I think it was the Bob Problem or something, where he was just like, there aren't many professional players in sports anywhere more who go by Bob.
That's true.
And he was marking like the graph of overtime from like the 1800s to present day, and he's like, now there's only like 9 people who actually go by Bob and not Robert or anything.
Not Robert or Bobby or something.
Yeah. And so like he's like, there was a heyday in the like 80s and 90s where there were so many Bobs, but then like they're disappearing.
Bob's going extinct.
It's a really good series. God, he's
I'll check it out. What's his name again? James
Jonbois.
I was gonna say James Joyce.
James Joyce.
Wrong author.